What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what the news just said about NIO, what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for us to give you guys some predictions for tomorrow. But before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon, and it's in just about 6 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. The market was bloody red today as almost every stock ended up falling very hard as we had a continuation of the sell-off going into today. And the question is, will the market continue like this? As of right now, it's still looking very weak, and this could have a very negative effect on NIO as NIO is approaching some key support. But first, I want to talk about some news that came out. First off, as a reminder, the Federal Reserve announced that they're going to be likely raising rates again, and they may have to keep rates higher for an extended period of time. This led to a lot of fear in the markets, lots of selling. And on top of this, the Fed mentioned that inflation is starting to show signs of potentially ticking up. They're going to be monitoring the data very, very quickly and very, very diligently when it comes to their policies. And that's going to be important for them. And this had a very negative effect on the market nonetheless. That's why the market's been underperforming. Now, that's also affecting NIO simultaneously. Now, for NIO, they ended up tweeting about the EC6, which is a great card, has so much, so much potential for their sales and etc. But this other piece of news came out that NIO launched its own Android-based phone for $890, which is cheaper than some of the other predecessors. Now, this is a good catalyst for NIO. They mentioned that a large percentage of their base is going to likely try to buy this phone. This could start bringing in more revenue for them. But as of right now, we're yet to find out the margins, the details, and things like that. And we will see how this ends up affecting their future. So it is good that NIO has this technology, but this ended up being like a buy the rumors, sell the news event where NIO ended up selling off afterwards. And we're going to be watching to see how this ends up affecting NIO. So it's going to be using an Android system. It has a very, very nice looking 6.81 inch curved screen. It has a 2K resolution from Samsung that supports its refresh rate. And overall, the battery is quite decent. It has a 66 watt wired charging, which is not too bad whatsoever. I would say it's quite decent, but my only concern would be how are the margins going to look for this? Uh, as of right now, we're yet to see that, and we will see what this ends up leading to. But I do think that there's potential for this. This could be good for them as the smartphone industry is massive. This could be very interesting to witness. Now, NIO also released a smartphone, expects at least half of its users to buy. We don't know for sure. We'll see about that. If that's the case, though, it would be very good for them, and I'm really hoping for the best. Let's see what their margins look like, though. That's what I'm going to be looking out for. But for now, they pointed towards the points that they have about 600,000 active users a day. That's about 1.5 times the number of car users. And they're saying about half of these users may end up buying this phone. So that could be very telling, very interesting. Well, let's see how this ends up doing for them. This could be helping their revenue. We'll have to wait and see. For data for tomorrow, we have the PMI report coming out 15 minutes after the market opens. That's going to be quite telling for manufacturing and services. And that's pretty much it for data for tomorrow. For SPY, I just want to remind everyone, we have 442 beat max pain, a 2.22 put to call ratio. So we have a ton of puts expiring. Only 690 calls are in the money right now. Almost all of the calls are out of the money. And if I was the market makers, I would try to pump the markets to try to get some of these calls in the money and get us closer to max pain. But there are no guarantees, no promises until we truly see some kind of bounce. And as of right now, the market has not bounced just yet. NIO had 49 million in volume, which is very close to average, selling off on quite decent volume. And overall, the price price ratio is dropping as NIO is underperforming. Fridays tend to be green only about 53% of the time. And finally, if you look at NIO, the short interest went up to about 65 million shares. So we saw a lot of shorting on NIO, which is why this thing ended up selling off the way it did. So that's not the best of signs. The question is, how will NIO look moving forward? Honestly, guys, it's not looking that great from a technical standpoint. It is looking a little bit more bearish. It's looking relatively weak right now, and there could be more potential downside coming. If NIO continues to sell off, 8.28 then $8 are going to be two key supports. and it is looking kind of weak. NIO may be dictated by the market for tomorrow, and that's why I want to talk about SPY and just a couple of other tickers. Now on SPY, we're at support at 431. We need to bounce off here, or else this thing is going to start tanking to 429 or so. It's looking very weak. It's continuing to sell off. Looks very bearish on the 4-hour time frame. There's no sign of a bounce, but just remember the market makers may try to give us that pump because they want us to get closer to max pain. I am in the middle on the markets. They are looking more bearish so far, but I'm in the middle because I'm going to be watching to see if we can get that bounce or not off 431 for tomorrow morning. If we get it, there is a chance NIO could try to get a bounce. If not, we're going to see this thing sell off. This does look more bearish, so it looks like it might actually fail to hold 431. I'm a little concerned about this. There's no sign of a bounce whatsoever, and it might just continue to break down. So there's a risk of that potentially happening. That looks a little bit more probable. For Tesla, here's what you're going to be watching for: the 4-hour 200 EMA. If we bounce off of this, we could see Tesla make its way back up to 260. If we break below this, we're going to fill the gap down to 250. We're kind of in the middle at 255 exactly, so that's going to tell us which way we go. Watch this 200 EMA. Whichever way we break is going to determine which way we go. That is the key support for Tesla, and that's going to be playing a big role in which way we go tomorrow. So watch that carefully. That's going to dictate everything. If Apple's really bearish tomorrow, this thing is going to start sinking towards 171 as we have a potential head and shoulders that could lead to that target. If we're bullish, we want to see it get above 175 and hold it. As of right now, we have a potential inverse cup and handle like formation. I wouldn't say it's like an inverse cup and handle. It looks more like a potential double top, which could lead to more downside and this head and shoulders. Not an inverse cup and handle, actually more like a double top. It looks more bearish. I mean, it looks like it's going to come down to 171. The daily candle is still looking weak. No true sign of a bounce. It looks more bearish. So Apple's looking weak, guys. It looks like it's going to come down to 171 and drag the market down. So it's looking more bearish after all, and then failing to get that bounce. The QQQ is also just continuing to sink. It's very oversold, but despite the fact that there is this bullish divergence developing on it, there isn't really a bounce just yet. If we get the bounce with Tesla, we could see this thing try to get back to 360. If it keeps sinking, then 354 is coming. I am in the middle. There is a bullish divergence that gives it some hope, but as of right now, there's no sign of a bounce. So we're going to be watching to see if we hold 357. We're exactly at support right now. 357 is where we had the historical support. If we bounce, 360 will come. If we end up tanking, 357 is coming. There's a bullish divergence, so I'm kind of in the middle with it. So we'll have to see if this plays out or not. Same thing with Nvda. It also has this bullish divergence. We will see if we get a bounce back to about this 413 area. If we break that, then 420 is on the table. If we break below 408, which is where we have some support historically, we're at support as well on Nvidia. Then we're going to come all the way down to 403 to 400. I am once again in the middle. There is a bullish divergence that tells me that there might be a bounce, but I can't promise anything, guys. I just want to be in the middle. I want to be open-minded. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. If we bounce off 408, then we're going to make our way back up to these levels. If we continue selling, then it is what it is. 403 to 400 could still come. We look more bearish. We're continuing to sell off. There's no sign of the bounce just yet, but there is a possibility of it. Now, I just want to note all of this. The VIX has been up over 10%. And historically, when this happens, especially because the VIX has a bearish divergence developing on the RSI, typically it should reject and start coming down. The market should bounce. That's a little bit more probable, but no guarantees. I just want to be open-minded nonetheless. So we're just going to be watching all of these different levels and just to see what happens to the markets. If there's a bounce, NIO could make its way back up to 8.68 towards $9. If we're bearish, 8.28, and then $8 are going to be supports. What am I seeing on the chart? It's still looking weaker than the market. It looks like it's going to likely continue selling towards 8.28, and that could lead to some downsides. So we're going to be watching this very, very carefully. In my opinion, it's not looking the best, as SPY is still looking very, very weak. Even though there are some bullish divergences developing, there's no sign of them bouncing just yet. There's no sign of a bounce yet. So we're going to be watching to see, does the market sell off a little bit more before the bounce comes, or does it try to bounce from here? It might just sell off a little bit more before making an attempt to bounce either by Monday. And that's why I think there's a good probability NIO is going to go down to 8.28 or $8 very, very soon. So I think that there could be more downsides. So we're going to be watching this all very, very carefully. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. I know it's not what you want to hear, but it is what it is. That's what the market is suggesting. The market did not like what the Fed announced. So just be open-minded and do what you have to do. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.